What up, Instagram Live? We are just about to start a podcast. In fact, it's already rolling.
Oh dear! Can we keep this into the
We are
at the start of the podcast that we're going to do?
Yes.
Fantastic. So we are in Mere Mortals MM004 Musings, number 39
Nice.
on the list.
Good.
49 in total. If you look at it in the entirety of the platform of things we've released.
Oh, like with the reviews and stuff.
We are one away from 50. Or would you not? You're not counting it just pure podcast. Cool.
No.
So we've still got a way to go.
No.
How have you been, K down?
I've been good. I've been
Yeah.
good. Yeah, had a nice little break. Caught up with the family, and yeah, I suppose got some points in the fitness challenge this last week. Got 14 and a half pull-ups today as well.
14 and a half.
So
Dang,
that last one I couldn't count. I think my chin was still like about that far for me
Nice,
to
close.
counted it. But yeah,
I got a couple more points as well.
Ooh.
It was from the push-up that I mentioned to you though. So it was a changeover. So
It's such a bullshit.
here's a couple of things too.
Whatever.
It's gonna happen, man. It's gonna happen. A couple of things I wanted to point out. I want to hear the story that you were telling me about the mother. So sorry, not the mother. This is Monster Energy.
Monster.
But you were telling me about the story about.
Well, it's
This
not
reminded
that,
you.
to be honest, it's not that interesting a story. But
Yeah.
anywho,
Tell me.
one of the first times I was drinking with my friend was in my house, and my dad had a bottle. You might know this, Amaretto. It's like a triangular sort of glass bottle that comes up like this, probably about this tall.
Yeah.
Some sort of it's
Like a liqueur?
yeah, it's like a liqueur, but it's
Amarillo or something.
yeah. So we were mixing that with Monster or Mother, I can't remember.
Yep.
Whatever, same thing to me. And that's all when I smell that, and all I think is back to that time. So
Interesting mix.
yeah,
Interesting
little
mix.
story.
Okay.
Little story.
So the week that was, what have you learnt? What are some new things you want to share with me?
I got down a rabbit hole today of big wave surfing. So
Big wave surfing.
yeah,
Okay.
do you know much about big wave surfing?
Only a little bit. Only from what I've listened to from other people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it was on Eric Weinstein's podcast, and he was talking with Kai something. Can't remember his last name.
Yeah. Okay. Mhm.
Pretty famous dude, and they were talking about some of the waves that he's surfed, and I was starting to go look up these waves.
Yeah.
And these people are insane.
I've seen a couple of
Amazing.
videos of it, of big wave, where you have to essentially get you can't even swim into them. You need to be towed into the wave itself.
They're doing those ones. Yeah. So they've got snowboard boots on attached to their board and going down into these waves.
Oh, imagine rolling an ankle or something.
Dude, there's some of the videos you see the people wipe out. So they wipe out, I guess, at the bottom of the wave with it towering overhead. And then, it takes a full second before you see it swing them up and then crash them down.
Yeah.
I don't know how they survive that. And I can't think of anything more terrifying than being dunked like that.
Have you been dumped by a huge wave before?
It felt huge, but I was pretty small. So I think that was one of the times. That's one of the reasons I'm not that big a fan of the ocean. Also, I've been caught in a couple of riptides, and that's not fun either.
That is not fun. No.
Yeah.
I've a similar thing. I think it's what happens, when the waves are getting quite big. I was riding a boogie board, and it's at that time where the swell's coming back in, and at the same time the wave's getting a bit bigger.
Yeah.
So you essentially just land on sand. I got crashed. It might have been a meter high.
Yeah.
But I got trashed. It was on a holiday in Noosa, and I remember I had to walk back to the hotel because I was either on my own or with my sister.
Yeah.
And it's a kilometer walk, bleeding all over, just blood everywhere. And I was kind of dragging this boogie board. I think I was 14, 15 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
And I was in shock, I feel.
Yeah.
Would have been nothing. But
yeah. Did you get multiple as well? I think I might have got dumped once, and then another one was coming behind me before I could recover and get me a second dunk.
I think I'm pretty sure it was in that particular moment, I got smashed, and then the next wave came, and then I smashed into someone with the boogie board as well, and took someone else out. It was one of those crazy ones. So
yeah. No.
Okay. Did you find anything interesting from that? Any learnings?
No, not particularly. It was just interesting seeing these people putting their life on the line voluntarily. And one of the things actually he did talk about was he was talking about how when you avoid something, it does come around. And if you're particularly keen on avoiding it, the path you take to avoid it almost leads you to it.
Eventually, anyways.
Yeah. So I've noticed that a couple of times, just with things I said, I'll never get in a long distance relationship. This was me before sort of knowing what was fully involved with those.
Yep.
And then, next minute I find myself in one and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you said that and look at what you're doing now. So there's a lot of things and a couple of others like that where I've said something, not really fully knowing all about it as well. Yeah. Just one of those things in my head. Like I can imagine for some guys it'd be like, oh, I'm never going to cry. Crying's like for wusses, like a real alpha would never cry in his life.
Yeah.
And, then they'd have some shock in the family or something and brings them to the rude reality that, crying's whatever, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
So those things like that where you do it, either say something for the wrong reason or you've just got this preconception about what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that he was talking about that and I was like, that resonates with my reality, what I've
resonates with my recent reality of my failed short-term goal that I set for this month, which was do not invest one. So to people out there, and I was actually I even went as far as to tell my team today at my normal work about this, that I went, I'm almost becoming almost like a day trader in some sense. And my monthly goal was I want to talk to you about I want to pull myself away from that. And I was like, okay, let's just try to move away because for one way or another, we're going through a particular period in time where, it is kind of fluctuating what the market can do and what, how safe you should be and risky you should be. And in my mind, I came into this month being like, okay, I'm going to try and be more risk averse, not look at my portfolio, just leave it alone and go do other things. But I set myself a little description in that goal, which said an exception to it. I said, but if there's opportunities, I will allow myself to do it, which just allowed me to just go back in.
Yeah.
So failed that, like completely already said it. I failed that goal, gone. So two things. One, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to make goals like that again because it's definitely didn't help out.
Yeah.
And two, I just thought, okay, I've got to tackle that in a different manner, whether it's, was the core issue really the fact that I just wanted to stop trading, or was the issue that I'm getting all caught up in, again, sort of like a cycle of, like, I remember talking about, I got caught up in the media cycle of the coronavirus. And it took me a while to be like, okay, let's just stop talking about this, whatever, move on. I think now I'm getting caught up in like, okay, well, there's the day trading cycle, and then at nighttime it's in America, and then it's in Europe and Japan and all this, and it comes back to Australia, the 24 hour, it never stops.
Yeah.
But I think, again, I'm like, okay, I'm getting caught up in like a little cycle where it's like, it's always something a little bit new and a little bit of learning. One of the things we can touch on a little bit later is, I don't know what it is, but I like knowing things. Sometimes very randomly. And when I start wanting to know things, it is like, I want to know like everything. So I think I'm getting a bit caught out in that because I started learning about the BPNL sector. So I'm like, okay, I like to know that. And then it started being the fintech center. And then it started being the aviation and then the commercial travel and then the banks. And then it's like, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I'm like trying to absorb like all this information that maybe I'm like, it's going to take up so much. And that's why I'm like, I've got to be looking at it all the time.
Yeah.
So I think that's what probably has been my downfall.
The other problem is you like to do things fast. And I don't think
agree.
that sort of knowledge acquisition is doing it super fast like that is not necessarily the best way of doing it.
True. I think I've realized that about myself. If anybody here ever works with me or messages me or whatever, I am someone who wants to do things like at blitzing speed.
Yeah.
I think I sent you a message today being like, let's work out the Zoom. Don't worry about it. I already worked it out. I'm testing it tonight. Look at it now. I'm like that at work. I'm like, I work at just like blitzing speeds to the point where I'm like, I will fail a lot quicker than most, but it'll be a lot of failures. Like, man, it'll be a lot of them. But then I'll get through to a point much more quickly than others. But that's just something that I inherently know. And I've slowed down. I used to be even faster with the way that I used to do things. So,
there you go. I'm going to say this now just to reinforce it, because I noticed you were doing all this trading and stuff, and that's cool. Like, I can understand it, especially in like with the big drop we had from the coronavirus, there is a big opportunity there to invest in. And I suppose, maybe if there's more volatility, I wouldn't even say that's necessarily a good thing because it is more volatile, so it can go up and down.
Yeah.
But you were getting to the point where you were becoming a day trader. And I just want to say, like, dude, unless you're fully prepared to commit 100% to that, don't do
exactly.
day trading, man. Because their algorithms that the big people have and the good people have, they'll take your money. Like the way they do stuff is a lot quicker and a lot faster. So any advantage you have
will be taken away.
Well, yeah,
definitely.
that you think you have.
And look, I'll call it out to people out there as well. Like you can, whether it's day trading or something else, you can become infatuated by it and then be like, oh, once you start getting a couple of successful things, you're like, oh, this will never stop. This will always be fantastic. But, I was telling you guys today that I actually ended up purchasing a share based on success that came before it, thinking like, okay, well, it was super risky. Like it was super risky buy.
Yeah.
But I was in acceptance that if I lose all of it, totally fine. Doesn't matter. And sure enough, completely lost all of it. Just gone. Boop, like in one day.
Yeah.
I think that one was like, oh, okay. All right. Let's just pull up here. That actually happened. Let's think about it.
It's a good learning.
Actually, one thing that I was going to go down the path of is, I'm not sure if you know about Bitcoin is halving the quantity of Bitcoin again.
Oh, they're doing a split?
Yeah, the halving essentially is what it's called. I started in my mind being like, oh.
Is it called a halving?
It's called a halving. It's called Bitcoin halving.
I thought it was a branching or it was called something else. No?
It's halving because essentially it's halving the amount of Bitcoins there are in circulation.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah.
Like how Bitcoin Cash is different from Bitcoin.
No. So, yeah, I went down the path of like, oh, should I purchase now here and potentially, because what happened with Bitcoin halving, right? Full disclosure, I used to own Bitcoin, sold it at like silly low prices that I thought I'd made huge profit and still made no profit. Like compare it if I'd held it today. But the first halving, I think the price of Bitcoin went from $11 to $100 and something. That was the first Bitcoin halving. The second Bitcoin halving went from whatever it was, a couple of $100 to $6,000 US.
Yeah.
And then eventually peaked to $20,000 US.
Okay. How does that
now
work?
Well, in essence, the way that it's, and look, correct me if I'm wrong here, people, I don't know the Bitcoin is in super detail, but essentially it's halving is there's only a limited amount of Bitcoin circulation. Like say 21 million, I think is what it is now.
Yeah.
And there's a certain value to all those Bitcoins. The theory is, okay, well, we're halving the amount of Bitcoins available in circulation. So they're taking away 10 million.
Yeah.
And then your Bitcoin then is going to have to be worth more, because if it's supposed to be this, the whole market's worth $1 trillion and there's less things, well, each one of those things is going to be worth more.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the thought process.
But why does it 10x?
Well, because if the market size stays at 1 trillion and then you've got 1,000 things which are supposed to make up the 1 trillion rather than 2,000, then each one of those 1,000s will be worth more. That's kind of like the thought. Why even the market's worth 1 trillion?
No.
I'm not sure.
More, first of all, why are you halving? Why are you doing that?
Oh, I don't know why the halving's happening. I have not looked into the details why the halving is actually happening.
And then why does it 10x instead of just double, which is what you'd think it would do?
Not sure about why 10x is.
Okay.
Not saying I'm definitely not an experienced cryptocurrency trader.
This is why you want to invest.
But that's what I mean, right? I started thinking about that and I was like, okay, let's put my mere mortal hat on.
Yeah.
That is, I'm like, okay, well, like, do I invest? Like, it's $8,000 US per Bitcoin. Do I go and invest into here knowing nothing?
Well, you can buy halves of coins and whatnot.
Yeah, you can. So here's an interesting saying, right? I'm going to butcher this. I wish I could Google it.
Take your time.
I can remember the first one. So the first one is, everybody says this from Warren Buffett. Everyone would know the quote. So buy when everyone's fearful and be fearful when everyone's greedy.
Yeah.
And it's the other way. Be fearful when everyone's greedy. Be greedy when everyone's fearful. Everyone remembers that quote from Warren Buffett. So everyone when the coronavirus hit, everyone was like, oh, gee, like we've got to buy up and all that sort of stuff. There was actually an article on AFR a couple of days ago which said over the last couple of weeks, it was like the biggest time in either ever or like in a long time where they saw retail investors, which is essentially just me and you, not commercial big things, lose the most amount of money in the share market, right? So, and they talked about Warren Buffett has that quote. But he also has another quote, which is in essence, and I'm just going to be, verbatim what I'm saying, is don't invest in something you don't know about. So everyone kind of looks at that and goes like, oh, well, it's time to invest now and whatnot. But if you don't know what you're talking about, which here, Bitcoin, I know that like this level, and there's just so much more information to be known about it.
Yeah.
That's where you got to pull yourself up and be like, okay, there's a lot of stuff here you don't know. And even though it sounds like people are like maybe being fearful and it's should time to be like buy, there's a whole host of like knowledge that you should probably know before you get into it.
Yeah.
So like I'm confident in the stuff that I have bought, that I have enough knowledge in like in those sectors I've now researched to like quite a deep degree, especially the BPNL sector. Like I know it fairly well on what's going on. I'm comfortable in that sector to invest in whatever else. But still, I'm not going to like be day trading that or attempting not to day trade that area. So
don't do it.
So it's an interesting concept. But let's get to the another concept. And I know you wanted to talk about it briefly, so I think we'll do it in Musings, And it is, I have a weird ability to recall music really well.
Yeah. Okay. So did you know about this before?
Not fully, but in some way. So when we started this podcast just today, Kyrin asked he mentioned that, you're recalling it's Musings number 4, it's episode 39,
I
it's our
wasn't
podcast
that
49,
impressed by that,
which is just like general, right? Just a general like keeping track of things. Now, for some reason, and I've always experienced this, that I am quite good at random numbers, like really weird numbers. So 1-800-273-8545, right? Of that song featuring Logic. I don't think I even looked up what the last 4 digits were, but it's definitely the right thing at the front. But we were with a couple of mates.
Yeah, so setting the scene on last Saturday. I just done a hard day's work, hard yakker's work, cutting down a tree, which, by the way, is a lot of fun. Tree climbing.
Go climb some trees, everybody.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun.
It was. Anywho, we had some drinks afterwards, and we were just playing a game. Anyone wandering by our house would think we were schizophrenics or something, because we would literally change the song 30 seconds into the song for 3 hours straight, because we're playing a game of, all right, play a song on YouTube and the other people have to guess what it is. And I was doing pretty good at the start, you were doing pretty good at the start. Our other 2 friends, Deuce and Manchill. Deuce is okay. Manchill was pretty average at that game. If
you want to see what Manchill looks like, go check out a 1,000 push-up video. He's the guy who also declined to do the challenge.
Just trashing him. Good. And so we were doing that, and then we started to play like right towards the end of the night. It was like, all right, now let's make it harder. You have to try and guess this obscure song that you think, or play a song you think no one else will know. And that's when you started to shine, because, well, we each had different tastes. Mine are, I guess, a bit more, I'm not that into like the rap and hip hop stuff, whereas Deuce is more into that and R&B. So he sort of had that genre down. I had a bit more, I guess, like pop or
trance / house music,
a little bit of everything. And Manchill was into his Indian music, like full Indian music, the stuff you'd see in like a Bollywood film or something. And you were able to get them. I was so surprised. I had a couple where I thought like, I don't think I've talked about this with you. Maybe a couple of them I had. And maybe you'd seen a couple because we sort of share our YouTube page, so it'll pop up on there. But yeah, there was some there where I was just like, man, there's a song from 2012, not like didn't reach the top 50 or anything like that. It was just one that I randomly heard and was like, oh, I sort of like that.
Yeah.
And then you were just getting every song, man. I couldn't believe it.
The interesting thing is, I've known that I've got, but it's with particular, I think, streams of information that I intake. So I'm kind of like trying, because you know how there's a whole thing where people can be visual learners, audio learners, I guess active learners, that sort of stuff. I think where I am good at with audio learning is not so much, I don't think, with people talking, so like I get more information out of a podcast than I do from reading a book. And while they're not like, I'm not tangentially doing things when I'm listening to it, it feels like I'm picking it up a lot more.
Okay. Yeah.
But what it is with songs though, is for some reason it's the rhythm, and this might be from a South American thing, right? So maybe South Americans who are listening to this, perhaps.
I don't think so.
It's definitely the rhythm So it's the rhythm and the beat that and you could see right from the beginning that I could tell you it's this sort of rhythm, this sort of beat, that's from this.
Yeah.
Especially when it came to, I think I hold memory of a music to, I attach it to something really easily. So I think that's why I find it's so easy to prime with music.
Yeah.
That I can kind of listen to something and just instantly I can be boom, I'm in this zone, this mood or whatever.
Would you know where you heard it though? Can you relate that back to a memory of hearing it? Or is
No,
it just
probably
something
not.
that's stuck in
just something that sticks varies particularly.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with numbers, I've noticed. So I can remember really random numbers, not forever, but really random numbers I'll just remember for random reasons for a period of time.
Yeah.
But then there's other things that I won't really remember that well. So things like names, I'd just be the same sort of person. But then I've been really weird with passwords on restaurants. So I remember when I went to Greece in 2016, there was a particular cafe that we went to that gave out the passcode.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was an 8-digit thing or something. And I remember just remembering it for years. Just for some reason, for years, I would just always have it in my mind. I'd just be it's this or whatever. And I was why do I remember this? It's so dumb.
It's so useless.
But I feel there might have been music or something going at the same time that maybe have that recollection of something specific to that.
Yeah, okay.
So I've never really actually tested it, to be honest with you. You fooled me with Jake Echo's Chicken Song. So
yeah, well, that I don't count that one because we're trying to think of songs that I knew but that you wouldn't know. And so I maybe got you with the Mars Volta, but even then I thought actually that was one you'd get because you were picking up Seti Indian, full on Indian stuff.
Who doesn't know that, mate? Who doesn't know?
Seti.
But anyway, so that was interesting.
Yeah.
Let's give the listeners some value here, rather than talking just smack about one's wonderful life.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things actually I wanted to share was today. So I reached out to we collab with Mac Fitness to an extent. So our podcast also comes out on their stream as well. Not all of it, but some part, and we're working together on a couple of things. And I reached out to them, and I guess they're athletes and affiliates around. Cool. Let's start doing some interviews with you guys, especially because some of these guys have their own story, have their own sort of conversations. And I thought, well, before I go down the path of actually talking with them, it'd be cool to kind of interact with each one of them, just give them a call, kind of give them a quick brief on what you can expect, because some of them are going to be in person, some of them are going to be online, right? We're just distributed in that way. And I think so sending the information back and forth, sure, whatever. People understood what was happening. It's a podcast. Here's the info. This is what we might talk about. Cool. Excellent. But it doesn't really personalize it or personify it as well as when I just call them and you kind of hear their voice and you talk to, it's particularly one of them today, Haley. I talked to her via a messenger face-to-face.
Yeah.
And the connection you can get from some stuff like that is just so much more powerful than just connecting with a message and stuff.
For sure.
I think it's reiterating when you can connect with people with more cues, like visual, like audio, apart from just the messenger sort of transaction, you just pick up so much more, so quickly, right? To the point that, and I think this enforces memory recollection. So when I sent a couple of messages back and forth, I was a little bit oh yeah, it was this person I sent that to, and when am I planning it or whatever. But today I managed to, just before this, I had all these calls, and I was able to kind of put a name to a voice, and the voice to the time, and the time to what we're going to be talking about. And so each one of them, even though it was a lot of people and it was going through a lot of calls, it made it so easy to personify and be oh yeah, this is Haley who's in Canberra and we're chatting at 1 p.m. on Sunday doing this. This is her background. And if I just messaged that, I would have not even picked that up at all. But now I can recall all of them every time and all that sort of stuff. So I think if you're not doing that, whether it's from a business context, personal life context, start doing it. I'd give you an example. If you are only connecting with your family by messages, you're missing a lot of interaction with friends.
Yeah. Well, I definitely agree with that. But as far as the reasons why you're doing it, I would say they can differ. I don't learn like that. If I did that, I'd forget.
You'd still forget?
Okay. Yeah. And this goes back to actually, my brother was talking about this just this week. He was saying every single person that he knows, as far as like his friends who go to uni, the people in his group at uni, the stalker space, like the Facebook group at uni.
Oh yeah.
Everyone is hating the coronavirus and what it's done to basically force everyone to do online learning.
Yep.
Because they're all saying, man, they're like, oh, I really like being at uni. I sort of like being forced to learn. I like going to the lectures, blah, blah, blah. And him and I, he's pretty much the same as me, which is like, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I don't have to physically go into uni. I can do all my learning at home.
Yeah.
I don't have to like get up and whatnot. Like I can do it at my own pace. And this harkens back to me going to uni where I was, I learned very quickly that going to lectures was a waste of time unless I physically got attendance marks. And I think it was probably within the first year I stopped going to lectures unless, you know, I had like a tutorial on afterwards.
Something
so
specific
sort of like, oh, okay, maybe I'll go to this. Because I didn't learn. Like I just I didn't learn at all. So I would say, you know, your learning style, and we were talking about this just before, so it ties in nicely. Try and figure out what that is and where you capture information. For me, writing it down. So I'd probably say, although I do enjoy audios, I'd probably need to listen to like 4 hours to get the same worth of 1 hour reading.
Okay.
And, you know, that sort of works out nicely now because I can listen to 4 hours worth during a day if I'm exercising, if I'm stretching, if I'm doing what else. Whereas reading is definitely like a
dedicated
you can't do anything else. You can't be cooking while reading because that just doesn't work. So find out what you're good at and how you learn.
Well, that's I was going to say that's definitely an important trait that you need to learn about yourself is how you learn. And it's a critical, like it's a big thing because I don't know if you know. Let's talk business context. How would you prefer to be told something when it came to like a lecture or when you're at work learning something? Did you prefer to have like a document that's like, here's the info, go and have a look and go from there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Where for me, it has to be where I do something. So I could read a book.
I'd need to do it to implement it, but I thought you were talking about, so say I had a program up and I was using this design program. Would I prefer having a document to look at telling me what to do or someone beside me telling me to click, but I'm still the one doing the clicking?
Which one would you
choose
prefer?
the document.
Okay, so I would prefer the person being there.
Okay.
So for me, and like let's from using Adobe products, I enjoy watching videos to kind of see what's going on. But even then, it's still my preference just to go in there and just break things all over the place and just be like, what's working, what's not, just go from there.
Okay.
That to me sounds even like a quicker way to learn, and then leveraging videos if it's something particular to it. But I would never just read something. Like if there was a document that said like, yep, this is how you can do this work or how you can make that work, I'd be like, nah, I'm just going to bash through this and figure it out myself. So
it's so different for me. So different.
Yeah, it's important to learn how people work, like how people learn around that, because so I'll give you a description. Like I've looked after many people right now at this point, and a lot of people either prefer being shown, say, how something works. So in the example of, say, Adobe, some people that I've looked after, they prefer for just to watch you do it so they get an idea of, like, oh, this is how the mechanism works. Some others are like, oh, just tell me the steps and I'll go do them. Okay, cool. That's another way. Yeah. Another way can just be like, not even written, just saying it to them. I want you to do this. Cool. Capture it. I'll go do that. Others just want to know what's the outcome and let them figure out what it is that they have to go and do. So it's important to know how people want to communicate and best. And if you don't know how to get doing that, then you're hampering yourself, because just like you and your brother, you guys enjoy doing it in your own pace. But if you set yourself goals that are like, okay, well, I'm going to force myself to go to lectures every single day because I'm not learning enough. But realistically, you actually learn a lot better in other ways, and you're just doing yourself a disservice. You learn how you actually should be learning and do that. Yeah,
and that's why the I guess I think a lot of people have gripes with the educational system in general, because it is a very sort of force-fed, doesn't have time for the nuance, and so you have to do as best as you can. And that's why some people aren't going to learn memorizing facts and taking a written test to show how good they are at something. But they can do some like really abstract stuff outside in a way different context. maybe same principle behind the thing, but one way it's not going to show and another way it will. So
yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I suppose we're talking about, just in this context, like the very like learning a piece of information, perhaps.
Yeah.
So if you're going to say to me, like, what's the actual structure of, say I'm given a new hobby, I personally like to do things at my own pace and without being particularly told what to do. So even though I do enjoy sources from outside, I will never, ever get a personal trainer like that. If I was going to learn bouldering and wanted to get good at bouldering, I wouldn't hire someone to teach me how to do it. I'd prefer, like, sort of a little bit like you, but not to the same extent, where I'd rather go in, try it out myself first.
And see how it goes.
Maybe do a little bit of research just on the basics and then spend years just trying to get good at the basics. I'll do it my own way. And that's how I've done, I guess, like calisthenics, getting better at handstands and all that sort of stuff. Learning another language, made shitloads of mistakes and wasted a lot of time, but also I didn't have someone telling me what to do, which I would have just resented the whole time. Yeah.
Well, you can see it how I practice handstands, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm doing handstands, just absolutely bashing through, and I'm still not, like, there's a couple of things that you're telling me that I'm like, okay, I'm starting to try and do, which is sort of like wall holds, trying to do, tucking my legs in when I do the handstands. But still, in my mind, I'm like, nah, I'm going to just try and do this however way I want it and start just taking in some things. I think it's also because I'm not fully taking it seriously.
Yeah.
But it's also my sort of style of just being like, just go in there, bash through it just to see what I can learn. And it's something to be said about, look, this whole podcast, right, of Mere Mortals that we're doing, there's a lot of learnings that you're going to hear from successes and failures. But even if you hear all the learnings from all the really famous people, all the successful people, I could tell you all the learnings I've got. Bottom line is, if you're both not taking actions and sometimes just experiencing it yourself, you're never going to learn from it. Like, I could tell you could tell me that actually you need to extend your shoulders more and hold your trapezius muscle back a bit and, feel it through and go through the triceps. Like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But that's saying it is one thing. Doing it and then feeling that through, it takes you a couple of months just to understand what that feels like in the body.
Yeah.
Similarly, like I can tell you how I bench 160, 165, what technique I use, what it feels like.
Yeah.
Fat luck's going to do to you if you don't take the 3 years, 4 years it might take to get to that level.
Definitely.
Usain Bolt could tell you how he runs and how he gained the experience. But again, fat chance we're going to be running like him. So there's something to be said about, it's good to know the learnings, but sometimes you got to just be in it to understand it, understand it deeply and what it actually takes.
Yeah. And it's interesting, I suppose, getting into the brain, I guess, what it is that actually is cementing those learnings. So is it just the neural network and the pathways in the brain establishing new ones? So each time you do a handstand, this bit connects up with this bit, and then that allows you to do that without thinking, perhaps, to allow you to think about something else. But is it like also connecting to parts in the body as well? Because I think there's me getting into a little bit uncharted territory, but I think like a lot of the like the brainstem or connections into the brain go down through your central nervous system, like through your core and back as well. So it's sort of like, your brain sort of extending into your body in a way.
Yep.
But that stuff's interesting.
Oh, definitely. Well,
practical experiences trumps a lot of things.
Walking, none of us think about walking as like a thing that we do, but it's something that your brain is just now does, right? It's just beyond a habit. It's just what you do. You wouldn't think about it twice. Same with breathing, just things that you don't think about. There's a point in time whether it's handstands, running, whatever else, you've done it enough times through repetition and through manipulating your tendons and your muscles and your nerve endings to understand it, to where now it's just sort of like, okay, sticking over. So someone can tell you, well, if you do 10,000 push-ups every month and you do it for 10 years, you'll be really, it feels super easy. I know how to control this, how to control that. You might say like, we'll put your pinky out, 45 degrees this way, and then you'll feel like it's less. All valid advice. But sometimes those connections can take a long time to build up, right? Your tendon strength takes a long time to lift heavy things.
Yeah.
That's just a thing that happens, takes time. Take it to all the way to economy. Warren Buffett can be like, he's a real extreme of what's called value investing. Sure, anyone can tell you how to value invest, right? That's not difficult. You invest in companies that you think have got long-term value. He invests in Heinz ketchup. Why does he? Because he thinks that over the last 100 years, they've gone okay. He thinks that over the next 100 years, they're going to do okay as well. Everyone wants some ketchup.
Yeah.
That's value investing, right? But just because you know that doesn't mean you're going to be able to go in there and just make like a smack ton of money or whatever else. But there's other things that are built into it, whether it's capital, whether it's other knowledge that he might know, whether it's not really timing for him, but there's just other variations that you would have no clue about. You wouldn't even know to begin to know that, right? That's kind of what I found out today. With, I was kind of like, oh, well, I'm getting a little bit better at this day trading. I'm making some money here. Yeah, the market's going down, but that's fine. And I'm like, okay, I'll venture out to this like kind of unknown territory of investment fund and see what happens. Boom, lost all the money.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, okay. All right. You could have told me. Anybody could have told me. I've read about it. I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
Where things go down. Our friend Joey lost a lot of money doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, even though knowing that, I'm like, okay, let's take a chance. Poof, off he goes. Now I'm going to be like, oh, okay. Let's be really wary.
Because that's a real good, solid reinforcement learning. A real quick one for you
100%.
to learn as well. Yeah. Like unpleasant, but it's good to learn that quickly as well.
So in a good manner. Cool. Anything else you want to share?
Just the one thing I suppose was the double-edged sword of time, where time gets quicker as you get older. And so, we're talking about doing
relativity of life,
doing things practically, and I suppose is one of the good things, because I was just reflecting today, and I was like, you know what, I've done a lot of the goals that I set out for myself that a couple of years ago I would have been like so happy to achieve, like a muscle up. That was just this thing in the future. I didn't think I'd be able to do that.
Yeah,
a handstand hold, a press to stand, these things which are like, now I'm sort of like, they're boring. Like I can do them relatively easy. Basically any day I could just go at it fresh and I'm still learning like the form and getting it perfect, but I can do them now.
Yep.
And that's one of those things where it's like sort of nice that it is quick, has gone past, because now it's like, oh, I'm here at this place.
I'm in this
but then obviously I've got more goals and they're set out in the future, so it's like, oh god, when will I ever reach a one-arm handstand, and
but it's always in that. I think the biggest danger in those is, okay, cool, it goes by quickly, and so that's a benefit, and it's a benefit and a negative to it.
But definitely both.
People can get really stuck, and so we talk about goals, we talk about all these things, be able to grow, chase your passion and all that. But just look at it on the other side. Sometimes that can lead to things going really quickly. So you look back and you're like, oh wow, I can already do handstands. We're doing a podcast. We're like 39 episodes deep. Awesome.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, well, I'm going to get to 100 episodes. I'm going to get to 50,000 followers, whatever it may be. Yeah. And then you kind of lose track of like the today factor. Like
definitely.
You kind of sometimes can go, oh yeah, like let's just take that stock off today and be like, dang, like I've actually accomplished a lot of things that I've done in the past and I can see where I'm going ahead. Awesome. Like, cool. Let's work towards it, but being, I guess, grateful and having that perspective about today's day. Whether, I guess, we're talking about having that negative visualization, or I guess a couple of other ways to, I think it's good to have that view, but sometimes also have the view of the today and being like,
definitely
awesome. Like it's a great thing that's happening, and you can see where it's gone and you're grateful for it, and then you can kind of continue on.
Yeah, like the dichotomy of having goals to push you forward as well as realizing there are times where it's best not to think about goals and enjoy the moment.
Yeah, you got to have a balance of both. So don't go to the extreme on either side.
For sure. Cool.
Good stuff. Okay. Mere Mortals Musings, what? 4.
Number 4, well 004.
Now, just to sort of, I was mentioning a little bit on the earlier on. So there's a couple of interviews that we're going to be beginning.
Yep.
Some are online, some are in person. They're going to still be on the stream, but they'll be called something to do with interviews.
Yeah,
Immortal interviews.
Probably not the podcast numbers.
No. It'll just come as the interviews, kind of like how our book reviews coming out, right? They're still in the stream.
Yeah.
Listen to them, engage with them, enjoy them. It'll be fun.
For sure.
Normal. Find us on the interwebs, Instagram, Website, I believe, might be coming out soon. I've got to talk to the big dog, K Down, to see how it goes down. Big decisions to make. What else? Yeah, the Facebookie, as Jacko would call it, and the YouTube. Go check it out.
Yeah.
It's good. Go if you feel up for some challenges during these isolated times. Go do 1,000 push-ups.
Easy.
Just do it. It's easy to do.
I'm thinking I might do that again.
Redo it again.
Yeah, but this time do a little bit of training for it.
Yeah, okay. I did see someone commented that said it was too easy and they did it in 30 minutes. And they might have done it. Look, they might have done it.
What?
Yeah, they commented back saying that they did it in 30 minutes.
Bullshit.
So I thought, well, I did it in 42 minutes or whatever. And they could have done it. If they're light people, I think they could have smashed it.
I'm going to check that out and do some research.
Yeah.
Because I'm calling bullshit.
No. There's a video on YouTube of someone doing it under 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. That's different.
So there is existing people who have done it.
Yeah, but if there's someone on our channel saying that.
Oh, 100%. Check it out. Check it out. Everybody who's listening to this, go check out that post on Instagram. There's someone there claiming 1,000 push-ups in 30 minutes.
Okay,
call them out. I'm calling you out. You see the video.
Yeah, I'll call them out when I properly feel they should be called out.
Good,
but,
good.
My initial impression is
as always.
Good. All right. Kyrin out.
One out.